Hey guys, Christian here, back again with another Sporty Tales video. Today we're going to talk about the National Football League. And basically how we're going to do this is we're going to split it up between the American Football Conference and the National Football Conference. We're going to talk about both different conferences, both different leagues at one time. We're going to talk about the history, the differences between the two, as well as number of Super Bowls, all that stuff. We're going to dive right in. We'll be right back after the intro.
Buckeye State, no hardball. Golden State, how I ball. Got those rings like Bradshaw. I feel like a champion. I feel like a champion. I need a parade. I need an applause. I feel like a champion.
Today's video is brought to you by no one because we only have 10 subscribers at the time of this video. But that doesn't mean anything because for the old faithfuls, the people that are watching this, you're going to learn something today. How we're going to do this, we're going to play NFL highlights in the background while I basically just tell you the story about the National Football League and how two conferences came to one and created this great league that we have today. The National Football League was founded in 1920 as the American Professional Football Association. It originally had 10 teams from 4 different states, and it took on its current name as the NFL in 1922. The NFL was strong and always established itself as the best professional football league in the U.S. until about 1960 though. And that's when the American Football League was born. The AFL's original lineup consisted of an Eastern Division of the New York Titans, Boston Patriots, Buffalo Bills, and the Houston Oilers, and a Western Division of the Los Angeles Chargers, Denver Broncos, Oakland Raiders, and Dallas Texans. I bet some of those names sound familiar. The league first gained attention by signing 75% of the NFL's first-round draft choices in 1960, including Houston's successful signing of college star and Heisman Trophy winner Billy Cannon. While the first years of the AFL saw uneven competition and low attendance, the league got helped out a lot, following contracts with ABC and NBC for their games starting in the 1965 season. The AFL continued to attract top talent from colleges and the NFL by the mid-1960s. But fierce competition made players' salaries skyrocket in both leagues. And eventually, the NFL and AFL agreed to a merger in 1966. Within that merger was a common draft and a championship game played between the two league champions, first played in 1967. This game would eventually become, you guessed it, the Super Bowl. The AFL and NFL operated as separate leagues until 1970. With separate regular seasons and playoff schedules except for the championship game. Between 1966 and 1970, the league had also added 2 new teams, the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals. After losses by the Kansas City Chiefs and Oakland Raiders in the first 2 AFL-NFL World Championship games, the New York Jets and Chiefs won Super Bowls 3 and 4 respectively, cementing the league's claim to being equal to the NFL. In 1970, the AFL was absorbed into the NFL and the league reorganized with the 10 AFL franchises, along with 3 existing NFL teams, which were the Baltimore Colts, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This formation became the American Football Conference that we know and love today. Today, the American Football Conference consists of 16 teams organized into 4 divisions, as does its counterpart, the National Football Conference. In the Eastern Division, you have the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots, and the New York Jets. In the North Division, you have the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the South Division, you have the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tennessee Titans. And in the Western Division, you have the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Just like the American Football Conference, the National Football Conference is also split up between 4 divisions with 16 teams. The East Division has the Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Football Team, with the North Division having the Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. The South Division is the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the West Division has the Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, and the Seattle Seahawks. Today, both conferences are very similar. They play 17 games, and they play each team in their own division twice. They also have very similar formats whenever it comes to playoffs. The AFC plays in the AFC playoffs, and the NFC plays against the NFC playoffs. The winner of both go to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, you win the trophy that's called the George S. Halas Trophy, but the AFC has the trophy that's called the Lamar Hunt Trophy. One of the basic differences between the AFC and NFC is that the American Football Conference still represents the clubs and teams which were part of the American Football League before 1970, whereas the NFC contains clubs and teams that were part of the National Football League from the beginning. The most valuable team of each league is the New England Patriots in the AFC and the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC. The NFC has 28 Super Bowl wins, and the AFC has 27. The Dallas Cowboys lead the NFC with the most NFC championships with 8, but the most recent champions of the NFC were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with the AFC, the most titles go to the New England Patriots with 11 AFC championships. But the most recent championship winner were the Kansas City Chiefs. Other differences between the leagues is 13 NFL clubs formed the NFC after the merger between the two leagues in 1970. But the AFC was formed by 10 AFL teams and 3 NFL clubs after the AFL and NFL merger in 1970. Another big difference between the two is that the AFC wasn't formed until 1959, but the NFC is technically formed all the way back whenever the NFL first became a league in 1920. Today, the NFL's schedule as a whole between the American Football Conference and the National Football Conference are the exact same. You play 6 games against the other 3 teams in your division, and you play 4 teams against 1 team in each of the other 3 divisions in your conference. Those divisions are rotated each year. This means you play every team in your conference at least once every 3 years during the regular season. You play 4 games against each team in one of the 4 divisions in the opposing conference. Those divisions are rotated each year. This means you play every team in the other conference once every 4 years during the regular season. This year, the NFL just came out with a brand new schedule though. The league will match each division with a division in the other conference, rotating these matchups each season. And the team that finished first in one will play the team that finished first in the other. The team that finished second will play the team that finished second in the other, and so on. The current plan is to match interconference divisions that played each other 2 years ago, which means that this season, as the first 17-game regular season in NFL history, the AFC East teams will play NFC East teams, the NFC North teams will play against AFC West teams, The NFC South teams would play against the AFC South teams, and the NFC West teams will play against the AFC North teams. So to determine the specific matchups, look at those pairings and see which teams finished in which spots in the standings. The Washington football team, which finished first in the NFC East, would play its extra game against the Buffalo Bills, who finished first in the AFC East. The Chicago Bears, who finished second in the NFC North, will play against the Las Vegas Raiders, who finished second in the AFC West. The Carolina Panthers, who finished third in the AFC South, would play against the Houston Texans, who finished third in the AFC South. You get the point? Some teams will get extra home games out of this. With each team playing 17 games in a season, the league's schedule symmetry vanishes. Half of the league's teams will play 9 home games in the regular season, while the other half will play 9 road games in the regular season. It's not really fair, but everyone will get the piece of their pie once it comes back around in the next year or so. Overall, you can see that both conferences today are about the same, besides some championships, besides some names of teams and stuff like that. But back in the day, the conferences were very different, and they were in 2 separate leagues. But today, they make up what we call the National Football League, and that's something that is so special. Don't forget to throw a comment, throw a like, throw a subscribe. I hope you guys learned something today, and we'll see you next time. I'm Christian, and Sporty Tales is out.